Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth installment of the Unlock Alabama Academy Lunch and Learn. Today, we are joined by our special guest, Mr. Paul Lockett, who is the technical director at the Innovation Portal and the founder of Unlock Alabama. Paul, we're so happy to have you, especially on such short notice. I know you had a trip in the Arctic, so we're happy to have you back here.
Yeah, yeah. Interestingly, not as cold as Canada. That's something I recognize. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's my first lunch and learn. Excited to hop into it.
Nice. So Paul, one thing that's especially for me been top of mind to ask you is that you wrote a manifesto a few months ago about your vision for Unlock Alabama. We're we're about I think about 3 months in from our start date of building out, no, 2 months in for building out the program. What are your thoughts so far, and how do you feel about the current progress?
I think we're inside of a really good position, getting to what I'd call like a baseline of getting things done. Like what I recognize inside of projects, there's kind of phases, just like regardless of what you're doing. There's phases of maturity inside of the work being done. So like you can think of it like a class project where like, you meet everybody for the first time, everybody's like, if they know each other, that's great. If they don't, like we have to like kind of break the ice a little bit, figure out where we can meet. Can we go to your house? Are we gonna meet at the library? Blah, blah, blah. And then there's a point where things start to become more of a flow where like you know what you need to get done, everybody's planned it out, and like everybody can just go and do their part. We're getting to that point where everybody can just go and do their part, and that's exciting because the next step beyond that is being more experimental, trying cool new things on top of the basic everyday. Because to me, that's where the cool and innovative things can happen. Once you figure out like, okay, this is what actually has to happen, then you can start to do like, wouldn't it be cool if we added this on top of it?
Speaking of cool projects, um, in your manifesto, you labeled out your definition of a builder. You mentioned what a builder is and what a builder is not, and the types of things that you're searching for. So it feels like this program has become like the perfect storm of for builders to go out and see their ideas come into fruition with having high standard support, mentorship. Can you speak a little bit more about your vision for builders as as we have applications rolling out pretty soon, and also for our interns here who've been making progress for 6 weeks consistently in a row, and shipping and building in public.
I'll say like building is one of the coolest and most interesting things that I got out of California while I was there. I've always been like going to hackathons and things like that, and trying to do something, build something inside of those like very tight constraints. When we talk about building inside of this context, it's a lot longer, and it gives you a taste of what it means to like actually start like picking at a mountain. Like one like hit at a time, you start to chip away at that mountain of a task, and then you start to see something come out on the other side, and like that's a magical moment. And getting somebody to have that magical moment can happen inside of a short time, it can happen inside of a long time. I know like inside of some cases, I've gone to a hackathon with folks, and then like over the course of the weekend, they're a whole different person because they realize that they have the capability to go and change the world and do things that they want, just because they were able to do it over the weekend. It's a whole nother ball game when you like actually do it all by yourself over a longer period of time. And I say all by yourself, like there's people around you, there's people supporting you, but they're not doing it for you, right? Like inside some cases you may have a team with you, but like even with the team, you have your part to play. And when you're building things out and you can look back and say like, oh, this is what I did the week before, this is what I did 2 weeks ago, this is what I did 3 weeks ago, you can start to feel that sense of like capability, that ability that you actually did this, and if you wanted to go and do something else you could, and that would be just okay. Like That is something that is a gift that a lot of people don't get to have because people just don't believe in them. People don't think that they're capable of doing like amazing things, but everybody is. And like once you actually do it for the first time, it becomes easier to do it the second time. And so when I think about the builders, when I think about like the interns, I'm really keen on being able to give them this transformative experience where they can like really realize and see for themselves like what they're capable of and find out how to grow that capability.
Something I also want to touch on is that you also have a lot of love for this region of and the whole state of Alabama. And you, correct me if I'm wrong, you wrote the grant for Unlock Alabama. Was it 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, it was a little, yeah, about 2 years ago. Yeah, yeah, it was me and Todd with like years of experience and understanding how to like actually make a grant that works, and then me with cool and interesting ideas that then end up becoming this kind of like day to day task that we're doing now.
And I think that also leans into the this week's topic of accountability, because you've been very meticulous with planning, and with that comes a lot of accountability. Meeting you set quarterly. You're really good at setting quarterly goals, based on our one-on-one conversation we had earlier this week. You've gotten really good at setting tasks and creating systems to support those tasks, as well as really good at defining what's important and urgent versus what's not important and urgent, and leaving those nice to have items later down the list, especially working with our core team for Unlock Alabama. Can you talk about your the way you work and your strategies behind that to make sure I think plans go as close to the vision as possible?
Yeah, I'll say like this has been a hard fought type of like skill and lesson for me. Like this is my first time leading people inside of a team for longer than a weekend. Every other time that I've done this, I've been like the PM on the hackathon team. But at this point now, I have a lot more responsibility over a longer period of time, which is cool. And I learned a good bit from managers that I've had in the past on how to actually like make sure that everybody's on track. And then also the people at the innovation portal who are a lot better at me than at making sure that things stay on track and watching the progress of a project as it goes along, making sure that nothing falls off. Um, the way that I go about doing it really lends itself to a lot of the structure of the place that I'm working at the innovation portal, we use this system called EOS. For businesses in general, this is a great system to adopt. Um, and it works great to be able to keep a team on track with very specific goals on a quarterly basis, on a weekly basis, and on a yearly basis. And so, like as a company, we use that inside of the team for Unlock Alabama. We don't use EOS like directly, but like I learned a lot from that system to be able to understand like, hey, what does it mean to look at a goal and be able to see and make checkpoints along the way of trying to meet that goal. The kind of basic principles of it is that like you want to understand like what are you actually measuring, how do you know if the goal is it has actually been completed, and all that comes down to like these kind of core things that when you're learning about business you start learning about smart goals and how you set these things and how you like actually define those pieces. You start with smart goals and then you start bagging into accountability by saying if this is the smart goal that I'm trying to complete, what does it look like for me to work on this every day? What does it look like for me to work on this every week? What does it look like for me to work on this every month? Once you can really define that very clearly, like literally writing out all of these pieces, spending an hour just thinking through this stuff or working with the AI back and forth to be able to like really lay out a clear task plan and plan of attack for these things, then it becomes a lot easier to be able to keep yourself accountable. Because now you have a clock and that is ticking, which is time, is always going to be there, as well as a list of things to get done. And you can gauge for yourself based on the plan that you wrote, like, are you accomplishing the goals? Are you not? And then being able to adjust from there. Now, from a practical standpoint, what that ends up looking like is trying to plan out your week, trying to say, like, hey, I got like 24 hours in a day, right? And I'm gonna work for 8 of them. every day. And so I need to figure out what am I going to do in those 8 hours to make sure that I'm hitting the goal that I set for the quarter, the sub goal that I have to meet for the month, and the goal that I set for this week to be able to like actually make progress towards that. Even if it's the case that you don't know how you're going to meet that goal, the fact of having the goal there allows you to start backing up into tasks to say, like, well, if I don't know how I'm going to meet it, the first step is to try to figure out how. And that's a monthly, that would, is something that I can focus on in a month that would help me be able to focus to figure out that thing in the next 3 months. Does that like answer your question? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's crystal clear. And as we move on to the upcoming applications, I'm sure there'll be guests from our community. I'll be rewatching the session. We have one community member right now, along with the interns. What tips do you have for them as they prepare applications for the upcoming summer cohort?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that you could really do, the most helpful thing that you could do, preparing for what's going to happen this summer, like to actually like make it easier for yourself, is to connect with people who have a similar like mindset and idea around trying to build something new. Like finding somebody else that will go on this journey with you is such an invaluable like piece of advice, and it's something that like even for me, as I was going through college, like I connected with folks, and I was able to like make a good network there. But like truly, 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 your ability to make a friend and then get into a deeper relationship with that friend inside of whatever context it is. And this is one context that I'm handing to you to be able to give you to say, like, hey, another person might be interested inside of building something cool. And you and that person can start to actually become friends, actually have a deeper connection based on this new common thing that both of y'all could be doing. Like, that is like the number one priority for me, because like beyond like what happens inside the summer, beyond what happens inside of like the college career that you might have or the jobs that you're in, if you're able to go and make a new connection with another person individually as a person going through this program, because everybody else is doing a similar thing to you, going through the same struggles as you, that will be a win for you, infinitely bigger than anything that I can give you.
Sorry, I was moving the screen around. Thank you
Okay.
for sharing that. And Paul, I'm not sure if you can touch too much on this, but you also wrote another manifesto. I'm not sure if
Mhm.
you've released that to the public. I had the joy of getting an early access look at it. But if you are able to speak upon it,
Mhm.
I think you wrote a lot of interesting things. You wrote about what you've seen so far from our current intern batch, and what the progress that they've made on their projects. You talked more about your excitement, talked about your vision. Is there anything that you can share from that manifesto?
I'll say like one thing I recognize with folks, even people who are in college and they want to run cool things on their campus, or they want to like build community around things they're interested in, or even just make friends to do cool things that they're interested in. People feel like it's hard to connect with each other, right? But the thing that I lay out, especially inside this manifesto and probably inside of like future ones in the coming weeks, is like, yes, it is difficult. And we are more disconnected than we ever been before as a society, right? But there are things there are ways that people actually come together. And a lot of times these things aren't exactly the way that people should be coming together. And the thing that I allude to inside of that piece specifically is gambling. Like you see the ads, if you sit there and you watch like Drewski's like anything that Drewski puts out, like there's a gambling ad on in every like 30 seconds, right? If you look at any like sports broadcasts on the internet, you're going to be seeing Strike and DraftKings and all these other pieces. People are making community around these things. People are coming together physically in real spaces and talking about gambling. And I promise you, there are way better things that you can do than gambling that will help you make more money. And a big core part of this is trying to help people figure out how to make that next thing, build a new company. And so like when I sit here and I talk to folks and I'm like, I need you to really connect with somebody else. I need you to make a connection. I need you to like do the thing that you want to do and like find people around you who are also interested inside of doing similar things. Like it is not impossible. The gamblers are already here and they are 100% inside the ear of every person that you're talking to already. And so like I know that it's possible, and I know that it's possible for everybody inside the internship. I know it's possible for everybody who is inside of the state because it's already happening, and it's just happening in the wrong ways.
I appreciate you sharing. I think one thing I found consistent from knowing you these past several months is that you genuinely want to see and help everyone to win. And I just think that's a really awesome trait about you. And yeah, I'll pause here if anybody has any questions. I don't want to hog too much of the conversation.
I do have a
That,
question, but I think I'll I'll wait until the end.
yeah, same with me. I have no question.
I have a quick question. So how so what do you think it will take to shift people from being sort of part passive participants to being more active, like in the gambling example, right?
Mhm.
How do you get people to shift their mind from being passive to active within a community? Like, because gambling is a completely different uh, biological, it's an addiction. So how do you, in this environment, how do you get people to shift from passive to being more active and building?
Mhm. So this is a really interesting question. It's something that interests me a lot when I see the Bill Space example where we're basing a lot of the stuff on, right? Inside of the case of Bill Space, they made sure to reach out to folks that were like already interested inside of this thing of trying to make a new company, trying to do something interesting, make their way to California to be a startup person, right? At the same time, that's not the only people that showed up. The energy and FOMO that comes from like seeing people doing something cool and then recognize that I'm not doing something cool is one aspect, but the fact that you can have like something that is really corely social and status driven as saying like, hey, I did a cool thing, look at me, and then making it really easy for somebody else to actually come and get that same level of status is where my head's at when I'm thinking about how to like engineer something that can get people to decide by themselves to want to go and do something interesting like this, right? If I can lay out a way to make sure that every person that decides to participate is going to be able to see themselves in a different light as well as have other people around them see them in a different light, this is the thing that I'm coming towards. And I'll say like you point out like gambling has this like addictive element to it. But there is another like more deeper human aspect of this, which is like wanting to be respected, wanting to have the status of somebody who was interested in entrepreneurship, wanting to have the status of somebody who is building something, who is bettering themselves. Like these are also very core human traits. And it is not something to be ashamed of. It is something that makes us human. And what I want to make sure that we're doing with this is making, and this is why like we spend so much and focus so much on the design and the language and making sure that it looks and feels cool. Because what we need is for people to want to be a part of that community, want to feel like they belong to something that is really going to change things inside of Alabama. Because that is so completely different and separate from anything else that they might be a part of. And it also conveys more status. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. That's why it's important to build in public and help everybody recognize each other's accomplishments, right? And you're right, there is this
Mhm.
innate need for people to have ownership over something that they built, right? Not be a part of somebody else's story, but be their own story. And storytelling and building in public is important. And then when you have an environment where you have other people who are also building their own stories, you're sort of that's a that breeds that entrepreneurship and and gaslights you to motivates you to get more things done, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think of it. I think of it almost like a stage that we're building out in public, and the stage is there for anybody to stand on. But
Mhm.
like at the same time, the steps to the stage are right there, and I'm trying to like put a sign up that says like, "Come stand on the stage," because people will clap, right? And
Right.
and the more people I get to come stand on the stage, the more likely another person's going to want to come stand on that stage too.
Hmm. Yeah. True. True. Do you think like the way we build now is changed compared to what it has been over the last, say, 10 years? Before building, whatever definition you want to do of building back in the
Mhm.
day, had a lot of constraints. It had a lot of, uh, there was uh, uh, what do you call it? It was expensive to get into. There was a barrier to entry. Not everybody could do it. Not everybody had the tools and the technology and the support and the people and the mentorship and the knowledge, access to knowledge, information like they do now. Now you have way too much of that. Do you think things have changed now, and how is that affected the way that you've shaped the program?
Honestly, I feel like the shift is a bit overstated. Like it's actually very, very
Mm,
subtle. The reason why I say that is because like the difference between a person feeling like they can go do something and have the power to do it because they like demonstrated it to themselves is a psychological like gap. And that psychological gap is fully based on the framing and that person's understanding of the world. Right.
mhm,
Because like for one person, it may be very easy for them to make a business plan, something they could have made 50 years ago, right? And then feel empowered to go and actually go execute on the rest of it. It
mhm,
may be, but at the same time, the very subtle shift is that like people have a perception of technology as something that is high status. That you can that if you can do this thing, you are inside of the realm of the Steve Jobs and everything else. And so because you have this like very subtle, very delicate balance of I can go make like a high status thing, and then feel that I myself have the power to continue to attain the actual real part, which is build a real business. It is no different than saying I made a business plan in the 1950s versus I made a website inside of 2026. That's my perspective, and that's the way that I think about it, and that's the way, and that's why when I'm sitting here thinking about this program, I want to make sure that that person inside of the shortest amount of time possible hit something that they think is impossible and they do it themselves, because like if that happens, then it's a whole lot more likely they're going to want to go do the next 15 steps.
Don't be shy to ask Paul questions. He's a great wealth of advice, and it's pretty spot on about most things.
Tatsi, I think it's time for your question.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to speak to us today. And I think I wanted to tell you that your idea of building in public, that was a very good idea because just seeing my progress weekly is very inspiring. And I actually I'm thinking about applying to the summer cohort. And I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, could I apply with a peer? Like
Absolutely,
building together?
absolutely, yeah, yeah. You are singing exactly the same thing that they were looking for. Bring your friends, tell your friends to bring a friend, because like the more people that are inside of it, the more that number one, the more that Alabama wants to give to you, right? Because like if they see like a crowd of 100 people and they're like, oh my gosh, there's a crowd of 100 people and they're all like actually trying to do really cool stuff in entrepreneurship and whatnot, resources start to come out of the woodworks for you. right? Like the bigger the crowd is, the better. Like it only takes one person to start dancing, and then everybody's gonna be dancing in the crowd. Like yes, absolutely. Key thing is like everybody needs to apply. Everybody applies individually, and y'all can group up and do whatever you want. At the end of the day, is like you guys are gonna be working on whatever you want to work on for those for those 8 weeks. It really doesn't matter. Bring your friends, bring as many people as possible. Tell people you don't know, like make a new friend by finding out that they're interested in entrepreneurship and introducing them to this program and going through it with them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, for our interns specifically, and maybe that goes to for anybody else who's still in college and for young people as a whole, what advice do you have for them as they're in school or as they have these hidden advantages going for them that they might not be aware of?
Make friends. Go do something that will get you next to other people for long periods of time so that you can make a deeper relationship with them. It doesn't matter who it is. You may not want to talk to that person ever again, but like go and do that. Do that scary thing because the more you do it, the less scary it is. And the more you do it, I promise you, the more like magical, unnecessarily lucky things are going to happen to you simply because you knew like five people. And the wonderful thing about people is that like no two people are really seven connect or long or more than seven connections apart. What I mean by that is like you are closer to every other person in this world than you think. Just by like the fact that you would be open to talking to seven people means that you could talk to literally anybody on this planet at least one time. Understanding that, the more people that you are connecting yourself with, the more people that understand who you are and are interested inside of like rooting for you, or even just like aware that you exist, it makes it a lot easier for everything else in life. Because like at the end of the day, people are hiring people. If you know more people, then it's more likely you're going to get hired by people. Like people pay for things that other people provide them. The more people you know, the more likely you're going to find somebody who wants to pay for something that you make. Like you need to get out there and be a person in the world connecting with other people. That is the number one piece of advice.
Yep.
I have another question.
Hmm?
This one is more so tailored to you as a person. So I know that your role as a technical director involves making technology accessible. That's what I read on, I think, LinkedIn or on the innovation portals page. But
Hmm?
I wanted to know, like, how do you incorporate AI into your job?
Yeah, so AI like is dripping off of everything that I do. Like the manifestos that I write are a collaboration between me and Claude. Like I'll come up with an idea, and then what I'll do is that I'll load Claude up with a lot of books from either my favorite authors, depending on like the type of content that I'm making. I might load it up with books from like business books that focus on like how do you like make a really compelling essay or how do you make a really compelling piece of copy. And then I'll have a conversation with Claude back and forth as we craft a piece of work that we can then that I will then go and publish and let people know like I worked with Claude on this thing. Other places where I work with AI a lot, like if I'm coding, like at this point I don't actually write code directly. I'm more like a CTO with like a handful of Claude agents, code agents that are like constantly working. They report to me with actual like reports. They'll say like this is what I worked on, this is what I did, and then I'll look at the report, give some feedback, and then I'll go back to the drawing board and continue to work on coding projects. Um, Other places where I use AI, if I need to find people, there's like prospecting tools like that I'll use to be able to find folks. Like I know that there's like an AI club at the University of Alabama, and I've connected with all of the people in the club on LinkedIn, but I've never met any of them, nor do I know anything about the club or anything like that. I just use the AI to be able to find those people, and so like I know that those people exist, and those people know that I exist, even though they don't know that I know this. Like we don't have this like real connection yet, but it's a matter of time, and like it's one click away from me to send them LinkedIn messages because they all have already connected with me. So like I use AI inside of a lot of things. The key thing about like how you go about using this, and this is like part of the kind of core competencies that we plan to teach inside of like these cohorts. Just 4 real things you need to think about when you're using AI and how you use it. It's the 4 Ds of AI. It's very, very, very simple thing to understand, but it's complex to master, and it takes like a lot of effort to master. And I'll tell you right now, these are like 4 principles that like are not going to change no matter what changes with AI. AI becomes more intelligent, more like inside of more places. It like it does not matter. Like these 4 competencies are just how you use a tool that is a intelligence. One is delegation. Understanding delegation is saying, what work do I do as a human and what work does the AI do, right? Inside of many cases, I'm talking to people, the AI is helping me find those people, right? Like this is one case of me delegating work to AI and then me doing work that only I can do as a human. Another thing. So the second D is description, being able to prompt, being able to write a really good prompt. Me talking to Claude back and forth to write an essay, that like the way that I'm talking to Claude, there's a lot of nuance to it. It's different than how I talk to a person, but it is not so different that like if somebody came and read what I was going through, they wouldn't be able to understand like the conversation that was happening there. Like it's no different than if I just like had a person and I was gonna be sending like writing emails to them back and forth and waiting for them like weeks in advance to be able to come back and talk to me. The description is very important because the next D is discernment. If I describe a piece of code that I want written to the AI and then it messes up, I have to have the discernment as a human to be able to understand whether or not that was a good output. A lot of people don't have that type of skill when it comes to coding, but I don't have that type of skill when it comes to design. And so, like, when it comes to design work, I'm not going to be the one working with the AI. I need somebody who knows how to design something, work with the AI because they have much better discernment than me. The last piece is diligence. What I pointed out to you is that like I'm gonna tell you that I use AI to help write this piece of work. And like this is me doing the due diligence of letting you know that AI is involved and how it's involved. So that I'm being responsible inside of my use of AI and I'm not giving everybody else just like crap work that I never ever looked at and I just had the AI do everything for me. It's important to have that kind of disclosure because like it's easy to lose trust when you're using a tool that can do a lot of work but not necessarily to the quality or even inside of a responsible way that you might have gone about doing the work. And so having that undercurrent of responsibility inside of those kind of like core principles is really key. So again, delegation, description, discernment, and diligence. This is how I go about using AI. And then it doesn't matter what tasking I'm doing, I'm hitting those 4 in my head faster and faster, getting better practice at it to be able to effectively use AI to be more productive inside of my daily work. Does that answer your question?
Oh yes, that was perfect. And
Cool.
that's a lot more nugget than I expected, but it's very useful information. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I was going to add to what Paul said. I think one issue that most people I normally face when using AI is like having to review some of the part that AI did, and it's kind of like a lot of lengthy stuff, and you just have to go through each of them one by one because sometimes AI just assumes a lot of stuff, and you have to like have the diligence to be able to go through it to be able to correct a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It takes good discernment to get good work out of the AI. If you couldn't manage a person to get the work done, then you're not going to manage the AI to get the work done either.
Yeah, and I think context is also important there, right? Like
Hmm.
you said, you feed it books, you feed it a goal, a vision, you feed it information about what is it that the boundaries of the responses you are expecting. You can't, it doesn't know you, it doesn't know who you are, doesn't know what you're capable of doing or what tools you have available or where you are or any, so it might make some really crazy assumptions in the beginning, but the context is there as well is what you need to sort of set the boundaries with first and then start directing what it is that you're directing what output you expect based on the context. Otherwise, it's going to assume a lot of things which are not correct.
Yeah, yeah, it's easy to get incorrect assumptions out of AI if you have bad
Mhm.
descriptions, right? If you aren't giving it the context that, hey, I don't know how to code, you should
Yeah,
you should you
right,
should go ahead and figure this out. Then
right.
it's gonna it may make an assumption that may take you down a path that the AI cannot help you get out of.
Yeah, that definitely happens a lot. Yeah, I gotta jump. Thanks, everyone.
Hmm. Thank you,
Mhm.
Jay.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, as our interns are in week 7 of their program and continue to build in public, do you have any like concrete, as you've built in public before and have joined um, many different seasons of Build Space in the past? I mean, you also, still currently build in public with various things you're working on. Do you have any tips or any pieces of advice that you think they could benefit from?
Yeah, biggest one, biggest one. And this is personally for me because I lack tenacity like I'd want it to be. I'm working on my tenacity, but I lack tenacity in a lot of ways. It's so key if you are the type of person who like to jump into things, do fun things, do cool things, but then like a lot of times you end up like sticking to it for maybe a day or two and then forgetting about it because you're on to the next cool thing. Plan out when you're going to do the work, right? Just the simple fact of saying like Thursdays 9 o'clock to 10:30, I'm going to do this thing. Put it on your calendar, making a reminder for it, making sure that like you are keeping track of how many times you actually did that thing you say you were going to do. That builds up over time. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect at it. Doesn't mean that you have to hit it every time. Doesn't mean that you have to be perfectly aligned with that goal. The fact is that you set a goal of doing something at a certain time, at a certain place, and you do that every single time. Or even if you don't do it, you came back to it. Like that is the key to actually being consistent and getting something done. The thing about building in public is that you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be good at whatever you're building. What matters is that like you did something in public. And the only way that's going to happen is if you spent the time to do the thing so that you can go tell people you did it. If you don't have the time to do it, then you need to make the time. And that looks like scheduling, saying, at this time, I'm going to do this thing. Even if you don't finish in that time, you'll still have enough to be able to be public about it. That is the number one piece because like it matters more that you did something in public than that you actually finished the thing. Because what'll happen is that by doing it in public, you now have an artifact that you can look back on. Whereas if you tried to make it perfect, if you tried to just like do whatever was cool, then you're gonna miss out on the ability to look back. And a lot of people like have a hard time kind of like conceptualizing and understanding this. Like because it's the same thing that people have when you're like, oh, let's take a picture, let's take a Polaroid, let's let's have a memento and a memory of this thing that we did. Like that matters so much because like the way that we think, the way that we feel, it's all about the memories that we have. If you didn't make a memory, if you didn't make something that can get that memory back up out of your mouth, your mind and your body, then you're not going to be able to keep that going forward. And the only way you're going to be able to keep something is if you actually made something for you to go back, look at, and be able to say like, oh yes, I remember struggling that day. I remember how hard it was that day. And just the fact of you being able to make that connection makes you better at doing it the next time. Does that make sense?
Your advice. Thank you.
It's really
I have no further questions. I'll give one last call if everyone else has questions they'd like to ask Paul about Unlock Alabama, about the application process, about anything at all.
To
All
say
right.
that
Well,
no, I had a lot of different takeaways from this lunch and learn. That's it.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff.
yeah.
Happy to be here for you. And I'm still here. You can always schedule time with me. My calendar is always open for anybody who wants to.
This was my
Thank you.
first. Oh, sorry.
I was
I
just
was.
saying thank you.
I don't know if you guys could hear me, or I'm
No, we
cutting into
can.
somebody. This was my first meeting, and so far, I really like I know. I took some notes down. I really like how you talk about the psychological shift and how doing things in public. I'm doing the exact same thing right now. So this is I look at it like if you do things publicly, it forces you more to like to finish. So I thought that was a
Yes.
good takeaway. That's all I
Yeah,
have.
we are social animals, and the fact of doing something in public, even if nobody is watching, it gives you, it makes that social part of your brain want to go do the thing that you said you're gonna do. Like it is subtle, and it is very light, but the thing that makes it even stronger, and the part that I points out about making the stage and people clapping, is that because other people are actually watching when you are going through a program like this, it becomes even stronger of a social push for you to do the thing that you say you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing is that you already want to do the thing, and so now you are basically peer pressuring yourself into doing the thing that you said you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Much better
I
use
agree.
of these like these faulty social brains that we have than like getting stuck into gambling and whatnot.
Yeah. Honestly, I think everyone low key just want to be remembered anyway, so it makes sense to do
Hmm.
things that challenging but do it publicly.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all I had though.
Cool, cool. Thank you, thank you.
Great questions and great comments. I've dropped Paul's calendar link inside the chat if anybody's interested in scheduling time with him. And yeah, if there's nothing else, thank you all for attending today's Lunch and Learn. Thank you, Paul, for hopping on short notice again.
Absolutely, no problem.